Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Hello, and welcome to Spiritually Wired. I am really excited about today's episode because we're diving into a topic that comes up a lot of times with my coaching clients, with my students in classes, and it's a topic that's also come up a lot in my own life, and that is this elusive search for balance. Now, I have to say that I was pretty blessed because about 15 years ago, when my kids were younger, I was working with a coach, and I remember asking her, okay, I need help finding balance in my life. And she gave me probably one of the best gifts, which was the truth that there is no such thing as balance. Life is dynamic. It is always evolving. It's never meant to be static. So there's always going to be periods in our lives when certain areas are going to require more attention and more energy. So instead of searching for balance, she encouraged me to really prioritize instead and accept what truly matters and to recognize that these priorities are going to shift. And the reality is that they're probably going to be shifting on a daily basis. And I have to say that that advice was such a relief for me because it helped me to let go of this idealized notion of what balance was. And I have to say that to me, it looked like this perfect formula that I needed to find. And if I could just find that perfect formula, I would have balance. And so this balance would give me what it was that I was looking for. Now, I do believe that for many people, they have a similar view of balance, and balance being this like perfect division of time. So, we have this pie chart that represents our life, and some time is afforded to work and family and health. And so that's what balance looks like. It's more like this external structure of what your life should be. But as we just mentioned, life is also very unpredictable. And so most things that are happening in our lives are actually beyond our control. So trying to achieve this perfect formula means we're trying to control life. We're trying to control events. We're trying to control people in order for them to fit into this perfectly designed life, or so-called perfectly designed life that we believe we want to live. And it just doesn't work that way. And all it does is lead to a lot of frustration and always feeling like we're just not doing it right. So what I've come to realize is that true balance actually comes from within yourself. It is not an external thing. Balance is really more of a state of being. So that realization there shifted everything. It is less about controlling the outer world and trying to control other people. And it's more about now bringing your awareness, bringing your focus to cultivating that inner balance. Now, balance is actually a natural way of being. But the thing is that we're constantly pulled away from our natural way of balance by just the demands in our life, the responsibilities that we have, just all of the different things that are pulling our energy away. So I've found that when we can realize and really tap into the truth that your natural way of being is one of balance, then we stop looking outside of ourselves for balance and we come back to this truth of balance coming from within. There's a great book. It's called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And one of the spiritual laws of success that he examines in the book is the law of balance. So returning to balance. So instead of searching for balance, it's more about returning, coming back to balance. And that comes down to really focusing on your state of being, practicing some self-care, practicing self-compassion, giving yourself time for stillness in your life. And also, the importance of setting boundaries, saying no when you need to, managing and really learning to cultivate your mindset. All of these things play a role in being in a state of balance. So it does really come down to that self-awareness, the stillness piece. And if you take a moment right now, and if you're driving, obviously you can't do this, but if you just take a moment right now and you close your eyes and you begin to connect with your breath and just simply observe your breath. So you're breathing in, you're breathing out. That natural rhythm, the natural rhythm of your breath is actually the natural flow of balance within. Every breath in, every breath out. When you tap into the natural rhythm of your breath and you really go into it, you're able to connect to the balance that exists within. Because to me, it's like that perfect example of what balance means. It's this powerful tool. Your breath is this powerful tool for grounding yourself and just returning back to balance. Now, I also wanted to offer you another perspective around balance, and one that has made a big difference in my life and also in the life of, the students that I work with. And that has been to reframe finding balance as finding equilibrium. Because unlike balance, which really kind of leads to the idea of like two sides of a scale, right? When we think of balance, we think of that seesaw, that scale, and it's like going from one to the other, one to the other. To me, equilibrium is more fluid. And it's more about creating harmony within all of the constant motions, all of the constant realities of life. So it's more about processes, it's more about systems, it's more about there's movement when we think of equilibrium, while as with balance, it may feel like it's one or the other. And so to me, I've resonated so deeply with the idea of creating equilibrium in my life, because equilibrium, again, brings this idea, this understanding that everything is working together. And so our goal is more about inviting harmony into the different areas of our lives instead of one thing fighting over the other, right? So I want to learn to integrate my work life with my everyday, life, with my family life, with my health. You want to invite that sense of harmony into your life. So you're not fighting, like if I'm working right now, it means that I don't get to do this for myself. You want to really take that more approach of taking a step back and looking at your life as a whole and being like, how can I invite equilibrium into my life? How can I honor all of the different parts of my life that are important to me, that speak to me, instead of having them fight with each other? just that to me was the biggest shift. And it came when I was watching the documentary called The Biggest Little Farm on Netflix. And if you haven't watched that documentary, I highly recommend it. It's such a beautiful movie, and it is the story of, so it follows this couple, John and Molly, and it's their journey to follow their dream of creating this sustainable farm that is in harmony with nature. And I remember watching, it was when I was watching that movie that I had this epiphany around balance and the idea of equilibrium, because there's a farming consultant in the movie and he talks exactly about creating a state of equilibrium in nature. And, for the farm, it took he says it takes 7 years for everything, for nature to start working together. So obviously, time may be different in our lives, but it's like when you tap into that state of equilibrium, then it is like riding the energy of nature with ease. Like you're just surfing the waves. And there is this sense of you don't have to force anything because everything is working together in order to optimize the energy of nature. And so to me, I'm like, oh, that is it. That's what balance is. It's not necessarily balance. It's finding equilibrium in our lives where everything is working together so that we feel like we're in this optimal state, as opposed to looking at every compartment, every area of our life as being separate. And it so resonated deeply because that is the idea of we can't force balance. We can only find and tap into this state of equilibrium and flow in our lives. And when we experience flow, it is a state of presence, it's a state of ease, and it's where everything feels like it's coming together. And of course, life is going to continue to throw us curveballs. It doesn't, again, it has nothing to do with maybe the external circumstances, but when you can really be grounded in this state of equilibrium, you know that you can always come back into flow, right? So yes, maybe there's a certain area of your life that is demanding more of your time, more of your energy, and you know that you can come back into the state of flow when you recognize that maybe you've been pulled off course a bit. It also reminds me of this other beautiful concept, and that is one of equanimity. And equanimity is something that, you hear about in the spiritual world, but it refers to a state of calm and a state of psychological stability that is not affected by external events. So maybe not as disturbed by external events. So equanimity is really about resilience. It's about being grounded in a very calm, composed way. And so when we shift from searching outside of ourselves for external balance and we choose to focus more on inner equilibrium, yes, life can shake us up. Life happens, and we can definitely be shifted in many different ways, but there is a state of balance within that exists where you are centered, where you are calm, where you are resilient. And to me, that is what being grounded is. And I tend to use the word grounded a lot because I see us humans, us physical beings, as being energetic beings. And so if we're energetic beings, then just like the electrical systems in our house need to be grounded into the earth in order to be safe, it's the same for us as humans, right? So the idea of equanimity resonates because it's another way of looking at being grounded. When we're grounded, it's this quiet strength that you have where, again, yes, life is happening, but amidst it, you are feeling centered, you're present, you're resilient, you're grounded, and you're tapped into that internal state of balance regardless of what's happening. And that really is the true nature of it. It's more about finding spiritual balance than it is about finding this external balance. So as you move forward, I really invite you to focus on cultivating that inner equilibrium rather than chasing this illusion of external balance in your life. And remember that this state of inner balance, this state of equilibrium, of flow, of equanimity is really your natural state, that you are, in fact, spiritually wired for it. I hope this episode serves you well. Until next time, remember that you are, in fact, spiritually wired. You are spiritually wired for peace, for calm, for resilience, and yes, for balance. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.